sorry, but I must interrupt this show. Later, you know what it is. Hey, ham solo. It's time, baby. Low. It's time how we do. Hey. They said we hit. They said we said we on. They said we said strong. They said we said go. We say that you heard right. 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 They said we said we in. They said we said we on. They said we said strong. They said we said go. We say that you heard right. We say that you heard right. We say that you heard right. We say that you man, I swear that it's imminent. I've been going so hard on my penmanship. About to go in and buy me a whip. And I pull that shit fresh off the dealership. I can leave you on red like an Xbox. Got me laughing at you like you red fox. Got you chasing Hot Wheels like a matchbox. EA running the game and it don't stop. Super fun like I'm playing for bliss. Got you all in my sights like Red Dead Redemption. Never gonna slip on my pimpin'. Better get out my way, bitch, I'm on a mission. Really ain't no competition. I'm steady grilling opposition. I'm get up and ready to win. They can play it how they play, but fuck what you say. I'm getting this money today. Last of us like a dying breed. Down the ride like a noble steed. Fatality moves, I make it bleed. That's on any game, that's on any screen. Shut up and give me your money. They said we so lit. Even if I take an L, we coming back just to show that we don't quit. They said we hit. They said we on. They said we said strong. They said we said go.
Yo, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome to another phenomenal episode of Behind Them Six with your boy Ham Solo. 05 Gaming here with you on the TSWS Gaming YouTube channel here today. And I have a phenomenal guest to bring you guys this evening. He has his own channel where he does his own thing, but he also features on Wandering Dutch's channel as well during the midweek mix-up, I believe. So without any further ado, let me introduce you guys to this awesome brother named Boxenberger. How you doing this afternoon, brother? Good to have you here. I know it's a lot later over there than it is for me over here, so I had to accommodate. So what's cracking?
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing good. Excited to be here. Thank you so much for the invite. We've been trying this for a while now, so I'm really glad we finally were able to make it because, yeah, time delays, it's always a little problematic. But, yeah, I'm super excited to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we go any further, I just want to show you guys where you can find this brother Boxenberger. So he does his content and whatnot. He's not all over the place. He's pretty structured and where he needs to be, but I just want to kind of show off you guys where you could find him. So here's him on Twitter. Let me get this out of the way because that's a little inappropriate sometimes. So this is where you can find him here on Twitter at Boxenberger. Very simple. It's just his name. It's nothing crazy like a lot of us. And then on top of that, you can also find him over here on Boxenberger's channel on YouTube. This is where he does his own specific content. Sometimes he has special guests on there. It's been a little while since you did like the special guests kind of thing for like new people and stuff like that. I remember you used to do that as well for a little while.
Yeah.
But then he also does, as I was saying earlier, a show over on Wandering Dutch's channel for the midweek mix-up. So you guys can see right here on some of these videos that are more recent. He is also in that as well. So really good to see you. I definitely just wanted to showcase you off in case anybody comes through here, whether it's now or after the show is done, so they can actually see what where to find you. I know a lot of people say, hey, shout out where they can find you, but then they don't actually get the opportunity to see it for themselves, so they can be like, oh, that's the channel he was talking about. So I just wanted to at least give you that kind of grace, or
thank you so much.
Absolutely. But anyways, getting back to it, so thank you so much for being here again, brother. I gotta ask, what in the heck has been going on lately?
Oh, well, a lot of stuff has been going on. Listen, it's been an amazing year for gaming, right? We had so many awesome games coming out, so there's always something going on in the gaming side of things. And other than that, I've started actually a new job this year, so there has been a lot of change there as well. And yeah, it's been a fantastic year so far. And yeah, man, I've been playing a lot of games lately, like Final Fantasy 16. Finally got the chance to start that, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. And I have my ally with me that travel a lot for work lately. So
Yeah, the ROG.
been playing Sea of Stars on that, as well as a lot of Starfield. It just runs so well on the ROG Ally. So yeah, man, lot of cool gaming stuff. And outside of that, of course, there's always work with the channel you just mentioned. We do the weekly podcast. Been trying to get back to doing more edited videos lately.
Yeah.
Working on a lot of stuff there. So yeah, it's been busy times.
Yeah, man, that's one thing that I really want to start working on this year. That's kind of like a resolution thing that I kind of got
Mm,
going on. Is I want to work on like doing like recording videos
yeah,
and stuff like that. I do a lot of live stuff, but sometimes it's just like I don't feel like I need to be here for 2 hours to talk about
yeah,
this. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I feel like I could wrap this up in like 5 minutes. And
yeah,
but the thing is then you get to talk with the chat and everything. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's good to have the conversation with the
absolutely.
chat. And sometimes you have other people that are on the show that kind of, have their own opinions and stuff like that. I don't mind that at all. That's dope.
Yeah,
But at the same time, it's just like I could have got done with this, like
way quicker.
pushed into a 3-hour show. This is a 10-minute talk, right? You're like,
Yeah, yeah.
but anyways, so phenomenal, brother. But I gotta also ask you, what was it like for you, man? Going out to what was it, Gamescom? Is that right?
Oh yeah, we've been
Yeah,
at
talk
Gamescom.
about that because that's something most of us Americans don't know nothing about. So if you
Yeah.
want to talk about that,
Oh
real quick,
yeah,
that'd be pretty dope just to hear what your take was from that. I'm sure the experience was amazing for you,
it
and you were
was
able to kick it with your boy, right? Which is
exactly.
amazing in and of itself. But I want to hear some of the other things that like kind of caught you off guard for being out
Oh,
there.
there have been so many things that caught me off guard. It's been a while for me since I have been to Gamescom. Even though I live in Germany, it's a long ride for me. And obviously, over the years through COVID, there was no Gamescom. So it's been like 6 years or so since I've been last. And a lot has changed actually. So yeah, we started super early there. Wandering Dutch and we actually also met for the first time in real life. We've been doing
So that was your
content,
first time meeting.
yeah, in real life, exactly, yeah.
That's pretty
So
cool.
that was pretty awesome because yeah, I've known the guy for years. And actually, I wanted to fly out to, what was it, XO19 that was in London, because he obviously comes from the UK. We wanted to meet there. But then, well, I became a father and I was able to travel. So priorities first
Big boy
there.
stuff happened.
Yeah. And so yeah, that's been actually and then we had COVID and everything, yeah, and so it's been the first time since we met in real life. So that was pretty awesome. But we also met a lot of other creators there. We met Jess Corden there. We met Gaz there, and John from Xbox Era, and we hung out through the entire thing, all the time. Yeah, we went to the show together. Obviously, sometimes we split apart, but because we had an appointment over there and they had something over there, but. We had dinner, lunch, everything together. It was just an awesome time overall.
Would you consider what you did work or was it pleasure? Because
a
I know
little bit
when
of
Iron Lords like to
both.
go there, they
Yeah,
say this is work. This is
yeah.
all work. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
not all work. Yeah, listen, it's not all work.
You're like, hell,
It's
I'm having some
mostly
damn fun.
listen. There's of course, when a Jez Corden goes there, he does this for his living. Yeah, for me, I have a real. Not that Jez's job isn't real, you know what I mean. I have another main job that is not in gaming. I work as an engineer, but so for me, obviously, this is a hobby. But on the other side, of course, yeah, our days started at 7 a.m. in the morning, and we went out of the hotel at 8, and then we prepped a lot of things during breakfast. You know, went through schedules. When do we have to be where? Checked the appointments we had during the day, and then it was never before midnight that we were back at the hotel. You know, it's long days, and obviously that can feel a little bit like work. But man, I wish I could do that for full-time living, you know, because it's a lot of fun. We met so many great people there, not just, you know, from the community, of course, a lot of people, but obviously a lot of executives, especially a lot of Xbox people, because they had the biggest booth at Gamescom. At overall, it was just a phenomenal experience. Yeah, we met Aaron Greenberg, shook hands with Phil Spencer, we met Matt Booty and Major Nelson, actually, yeah, and Graham Boyd and all those guys.
It's cool that you got to meet him right before you retired, right?
Yeah, right. Unfortunately, I didn't see Todd Howard. He was there, but I didn't have the chance to meet him. But yeah, that was obviously a great experience. Then we met a lot of executives over at Ubisoft, which was pretty interesting. Talked to them. We met a lot of people from Activision and Blizzard. Not so much King, but a lot of folks were there. It was just, yeah, overall, it was a big meet and greet. Got a lot of cool peeks behind the scenes. I think if you would ask me one thing, what really stood out to me, you know, it was like last day of Gamescom. Dutch and I, we were standing a little bit outside, having actually a lunch. You know, we had a German bratwurst, you know, and we were standing there eating, and there was a guy next to us who also ordered a bratwurst, and it was the head of the Xbox hardware team. Yeah. And it was so funny. We just chatted him up and we talked for 5 minutes, 8-hour bratwurst. And he actually had to go back because he had an appointment. And then he came back like 10 seconds after he left. And he was like, guys, are you interested in giving us some hardware feedback? We have the entire team backstage, you know. We would like to meet with you, sit down for 30 minutes, and you just give us some feedback on Xbox hardware. And it was so cool. And we scheduled an appointment. We went there, and we had so much fun talking to the entire team. You know, there were the stylist department was there. The actual engineers were there. And
was Mr. Beard? You talking Mr. Beard?
No. Hang on. No, he is not the head of the Xbox hardware team. He's the head of Xbox program management or something. Jason Ronald. Jason Ronald. It was like, damn, I'm blanking on the name. I'm sorry, the bald guy. Give me a second. I'll find out in a second. But no yeah, worries. We went there.
I blank on names all the time. Every time, right when it's time for me to say the name, it goes right out of my head. Yeah, all the time. I hate it.
So same here, man. It feels like I'm getting a little old in that respect, but yeah. James Shield, sorry, yeah. And so we met with him and of course the entire team, and they actually asked us whether they can film it so they can share it internally, you know. And then we sat down. It was scheduled for 30 minutes, but they had such a great time that after 30 minutes, the personal assistant went out and canceled the next appointment. We stayed in there for almost 1.5 hours. And actually we learned a lot. Not just we gave feedback, but it was the questions they've been asking. Dutch and I, we came out of this meeting. We were like, okay, we're pretty sure we know about the future hardware roadmap. Like, what are they thinking about for features for the next console? What other stuff they have? And they actually spilled something accidentally, which we had to promise to keep to ourselves, which actually wasn't in the leaks. You know, the recent leaks 3 months ago wasn't in there. So they have something else. And it was just an awesome, experience. We've never done something like that before. You do the interviews and stuff a lot during these shows, but never something like that. Those kind of experiences.
You didn't see that coming.
Yeah, we did not at all. Not at all. Yeah, we didn't have it on our radar, and it was just an overall amazing time. We had there was one Xbox after show party. They did do that in the evening at their booth, and then we stayed there late. Had a long chat with Melina Jürgens, the actress who plays Senua in Hellblade. And that was pretty awesome. Stuff like that, Gamescom was a real incredible experience. And overall, I mean, it is super big. People talk about E3, like this is 10 times bigger, just in pure size, because there are more than 400,000 people there. That's like insane. If you think about the 50, 60,000 attendees at E3, compared to that, it's just a massive thing. But Gamescom has been a very unique experience this year, man.
No doubt. That's pretty amazing. Just a quick second up. I knew that was going to happen. All right, cool. So going from that happened recently now.
Yeah.
And shout out to Drawn TJ, because I definitely want to get to this next thing, but I gotta shout him out because bro paid his respects to be here. And I always appreciate Drawn TJ because he's always coming through and supporting all sorts of different creators. He is everywhere.
He is.
Yeah,
he's actually a great
he
guy.
Got some saucy stuff to say, but he is definitely very supportive, and I respect that. So I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much. He says, "Hi guys, what's up, Ham Solo and Boxy?" And then he continues, and he says another thing, a $5 super chat saying they need to bring back the snap feature. For the love of God, that'd be phenomenal. That
absolutely, man,
phenomenal, because that was my favorite feature of the Xbox One in the entire generation.
I used it so much. I don't know why they got rid of that. Like, even the fact that you were able to snap not just TV, but for a short period of time, for like, I don't know, remember exactly 3-6 months or so, you were able to also snap things like YouTube. Yeah. And I could just listen, to my favorite podcasts, had them in this little corner somewhere in the back and play some games. It was awesome. Yeah.
No. It was the best feature I had because one thing that was funny is you couldn't snap Netflix and stuff. Remember that, right?
Yeah.
But if you HDMI plugged in your laptop, you were all set. Like then it didn't matter, right? Because
exactly.
Then it's not recognizing anything, but it's a display on a laptop. We're just extending it. So. Yeah, I used to do that. I used to have what is it called? One of those, like, those terabytes that you used to have to plug into the wall, and
I know what it
is the big tall suckers back in the day. I used to have one of those things full of music and TV shows and movies, and absolutely, it was so good, especially when I was like in this during the sports season. Trying to watch some highlights while I'm playing my game. It was hot. It was
absolutely.
But yeah, Drawn TJ says, the snap feature would love to watch football and play Xbox. That's what I'm saying. It was phenomenal.
It was.
Shout out to those some of the others that are up in the chat as well. The Salt Mines, good to see you. Sergeant Sentinel Gaming, good to see you as well. Tae Talks. I always almost say Tay. It's Tae. Ty Talks, good to see you, brother. Thank you for stopping in this afternoon or this evening, depending on. I know it's actually this evening for a Ty because he's way over there on the east. So at least much further than us out west. So definitely good to see you guys. But continuing on, so we just got done talking about all this different stuff that you either were surprised to see or didn't really expect to have gone down at Gamescom, your very first time going there, correct?
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
got to see Wandering Dutch, you got to see your boy and all that stuff. You got to get some inside information on some
some of the things,
like consoles and stuff like that. But let's hit the rewind button real quick now. Let's go all the way back before Boxenberger was what was your YouTube name or anything like that. Let's take it back to when you were just a little tight, right? Trying to get right.
All right.
so brother, I gotta ask you, what was it like going all the way back to when you was a kid? And you told me that your first console that you ever had was a handheld.
Yes, exactly.
Nintendo. It was the Nintendo Game Boy. I'm guessing
exactly the OG
green screen. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. I want you to tell me a little bit about what the experience was like when you first got that thing. Do you remember?
I mean, I was like 7, 8 years old, so the memories are a little bit blurry. But I remember, my grandma used to live about an hour away, and when she got a little older, my mom had to take care of her, and we drove there like 4 or 5 times a week. And that's actually why she got me the OG Game Boy, because we had a lot of driving going on, and that was like. Yeah, exactly. Keep the kids quiet. Yeah, it's the same what we do today with my kids. But that was actually like the first entry for me to owning my own console or gaming device. My father had an Atari, but he was like, I should ask him sometime because I remember he wasn't really happy about us playing on it. Maybe he thought we were too young, my brother and I, or I don't know. But that was like the first entry, of course, the classics, with Super Mario Land and Tetris and all that stuff. And shortly after, that's how I actually discovered video games properly. And then I actually got the NES for Christmas. I can't really remember how old I was. I was 8 or 9, something like that. And that was like the first, proper console, home console. And ever since I love video games, man. I've been playing my entire life on almost all the systems that came out. We were always like, even back when we were kids, we were like a multi-console household. Yeah, we had the Nintendos, later, of course, the Super Nintendo and the Sega Mega Drives and everything. And yeah, I've been playing video games ever since. Yeah, it's just a part of my life ever since I was a little kid, man. And I don't intend to stop at any time. I just love gaming, man.
No doubt. I mean, that's a really important piece to always kind of remember is where you kind of came from, right? Because that kind of is where it started everything. But as for so the Game Boy was really hot for you.
Yeah,
kind of helped kind of kick it off and help you between real life situations. So you'd be sitting in the car for a long time, got something to do. But then you graduated to the NES and whatnot. But what I want to hear from you next, Boxenberger, is I want to know the next thing that came out that was like, oh, we gotta get this. This ain't even right. We gotta get this. Like, what was that first console that was just like screamed by me?
It was, I think, the Nintendo 64. Because at the time, PlayStation didn't exist yet. Yeah, a little bit before the N64 came out. We didn't have the PlayStation yet. Also, PlayStation 1 launched a little later here in Europe than it did in Japan and the US. So we didn't have that yet. And I remember we had Super Nintendo at home and the Sega, and we were on vacation with my parents. I was 12 or 13 years old at the time, and we were in France actually, and we were like in this shopping mall, somewhere in France, and they had the Nintendo 64 in the shopping window. I don't remember if it was that they actually had the console or if it was just a trailer running on a big screen. What was a big screen back then? It's not comparable to big screens today, Right, it was all on CRTs, but it was a big thing in a shopping window, and I saw Mario 64 for the first time in my life, and it was like
that was crazy.
Man, coming off of this 16 32-bit era of gaming where everything was 2D and pixelated, and suddenly you had this 3D world, and you had these what was at the time, revolutionary animations. You see Mario do the backflips and waving with its arms, and it was just something you haven't seen in a video game before. I haven't, yeah.
Changing camera perspective was crazy.
Crazy. And I was like, okay, I gotta get that thing day one, the day it comes out. And it was about 6 months later that the console actually released, and I was doing tons of what's that in English, paper routes, delivering newspapers and stuff and that was actually the first console I bought from my own money. Yeah. Was it then the N64? I think that was just something super special, because everything after, of course, when PlayStation came out, everyone had that, and it was remembering playing games like Resident Evil 1 for the first time, almost shitting my pants with the dogs coming through the windows and stuff like that. It was like, yeah,
bust through the window and chase you down the hall.
Yeah, it was, and of course Tony Hawk and Final Fantasy and all that good stuff there. Yeah, but this was like it just felt like a natural step forward. Okay, graphics all became just a little better, but there was this, when we talk about true generational leaps, I think that was the one generation switch when you went from the 16 32-bit era to the 64-bit era. That was the one thing where you truly can talk about a generational leap, and I've never had something like that with any of the other generations. Don't get me wrong, still believe the 360 PS3 generation was the best whatever, but it's like it was just amazing to see what suddenly was possible. PCs weren't really for gaming at that time just yet. That started a little later, or more or less around the same time. Yeah, couple of years later, Doom came out and stuff like that. Duke Nukem 3D.
There was
stuff
no like gaming PC back then.
Exactly, you had PC games, but it was like
happened to have games on them.
Exactly. It all came like a little later
with games. It was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, exactly. So, the PC games were like Zork. I remember playing that on a
Word
386.
Like that,
yeah, word games. But this was like blew my mind, and also, of course, there's a lot of nostalgia towards it because it was the first console I bought with my own money. So yeah.
Yeah, and so then that was a super proud moment for you. Then.
Oh, absolutely, man, absolutely. I think nothing will ever recapture that. This is when you're young in your early teenager years, and you buy something for yourself, something big for yourself. Like it was a lot of money. Yeah. I had to work for 6 months like crazy to be able to afford that. Also, games weren't that cheap.
Not cartridges. Those things.
Cartridges were insanely expensive.
The console was cheaper than the PlayStation, but the games were more expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Base.
Yeah. So that was definitely something super special. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Drawn TJ with $2 super chat saying, I own a PlayStation 1, Xbox,
and GameCube. And now I got to ask you, Boxenberger, do you still own any of your old consoles from back when you were young, or did you repurchase any old consoles from back when you were young? Because if you were like me, you had to sell to keep up with the Joneses, right?
Same here.
So I ended up selling and then buying back later.
Yeah, it was the same here. It wasn't actually in my early teenager days or so that I kept my consoles. Yeah, I kept my Segas and the PlayStation 1 when the PlayStation 2 came out. My problem was, and I regret that honestly, it was we don't have colleges here in Germany. We have a little different system, but what is probably the equivalent to a college. When I started college, I ran out of money and I need to get some money. And that's when I sold all those consoles, everything I had.
And they just sit there saying, do something with me, either play me or sell me. Like it feels like they're just talking to you.
Exactly. It was like,
get your back. You're like, fine, get up out of here. Give me that money.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like, I sold all that stuff because I needed, what, back in the day, laptops were like super expensive. And I actually wanted to get one of those laptops, or I wouldn't call them laptops. They were portable PCs, like massive thing. And that's actually why I sold all that stuff, which I do regret, honestly. I bought some of my favorite consoles in my 30s back. So I got a GameCube again, and I got a Super Nintendo again. I have the PS2 still. Some of those retro consoles, I just for nostalgia reason bought them, like super cheap in a yard sale or on eBay or something. But yeah, I don't have them all anymore. But I can honestly say, I think I had like every main console coming out after the N64 from all the manufacturers, whether it be Sony, Sega, or Nintendo, and later, of course, Xbox. I've had them all. It's just, something I love. Video games, man.
So you've always kind of played whatever. It doesn't matter about this, the brand.
Yeah, of course you always have like your favorites or preferences,
Sure.
Like for inside, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that online, but obviously the big benefit of the PS1 was you could burn CDs. Like that was everyone traded burnt PS1 games on the schoolyard. You weren't able to do that with the N64, so obviously that's why you played a lot more games on that particular system. Or for instance, like Sega. No, I did not know anyone who had a Sega system, so naturally you just played like the big exclusives of those systems, but you didn't have the chance to trade your games on the schoolyard and or talk to your friends about that when nobody knew who was Sonic. I was the only guy at school who knew who was Sonic, because Sega was just not like a system that was particularly well known here in Germany. I always say it's similar like Xbox today. Nobody knows what an Xbox is here in Germany. And it was very similar with Sega back in the day. So like I always had like a certain preference, and I had a certain time where I played mostly on PC. That was like around my 20s, and actually it was Xbox that brought me back to console gaming, the original Xbox. And it wasn't actually Halo, it was Morrowind. I had like a boot. Yeah, it was like, I used to live in a shared apartment at the time, and my roommate, some evening he brought home this console, and nobody knew what an Xbox was. It was like, just, we have heard, there is a new console in the US, and it's like something from Microsoft, but nobody knew what it was. And he brought that thing home, and
That big
we
old chunk.
played Halo all night and everything. And then a few days later, I went to Video Rent, which was like the Blockbuster of Germany, and
Okay.
I got Morrowind. And because I was a big Daggerfall fan, I played that on PC like crazy, and I saw Morrowind is available for that console, and it can work. And we took it over a weekend back home from like the equivalent of Blockbuster, and like I was like, shit, that is possible now on consoles. Like, okay, I can go back to being a mainly console guy, and yeah, it's just very brief part
That's
of
really
my
interesting
journey
you
through
say
games.
that.
Yeah,
That's really interesting you say that, because that's still kind of like the shtick today, I guess.
yeah,
Is PC and Xbox. And even way back then, you were like, oh, they got this like PC feel
yeah,
to it, to where I feel like I'm kind of at home. But the
yeah.
only difference is I have a native controller for this thing.
Exactly.
That's
You have
how
the
I have to do it.
convenience, of console gaming. I still play on PC, don't get me wrong. I have a 3080 here. Like, yeah, now it's not that fancy anymore, but it used to be 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know, right? I got the same
Yeah.
thing. I thought I was the king on the campus, and now I'm just
Yeah.
sitting sweating.
But, my problem with PC gaming is just, I love it, don't get me wrong, but I sit in front of a PC all day at work,
Sure.
and when I come home and want to, relax, I don't want to sit again in front of a PC and in front of on my desk. I want to lay down on the couch, just pick up a controller and play some games. That it's a me thing. Yeah,
100%.
PC gaming is awesome, but I just prefer playing on console for that reason. And yeah, it was a little different back in the days. Obviously, when I went to college, but yeah, now I'm a mainly console player, and lately a
Crazy how
lot
that
on my
works.
LA. Yeah,
Convenience won at the end of the day.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
It really does, and it really is part of like, and turning into an adult and adulting and doing your thing. It's just like, yo, can I get straight to the meat and potatoes? I ain't trying to do all this other,
Exactly.
updating and
And
all the
driver
stuff
thing, and
all the stuff you love to do when you were a kid. Like, man, I remember loving hooking up my own car stereo in, running the lines down the interior of my car, tucking all the cables under the carpet. I used to love that. You know what I do now?
yeah.
Let me set a reservation at Best Buy.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? I'm like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, I know
ain't
exactly
doing
what
all
you
that
mean,
shit
man.
no more. Forget it.
It's
You can
yeah,
forget it. Give me the convenience. I'll pay the extra $50 to $100,
yeah,
and I'm gonna go home and kick it while y'all do this messy stuff. Right?
exactly.
That's what console gaming is for me. It's just like, and see, I get it, because I was playing this game, Ark Survival Ascended, last night. My wife was playing on the PC. I was playing on the Xbox, and I look at my Xbox. I look at the PC, and I'm just like, yo, like, I get it. That's a 3080, and I
Yeah.
really can't compete. But for the love of God, this thing looks so much better on my PC right now
Yeah.
than it does over here. And a lot of people try to, act like PC game and then console gaming is really the same. No, it's just convenient. It's
Yeah.
it's just
Just more
convenient.
convenient.
There's so much more stuff going on in your PC. There's so much more things that you can tinker with, make this work a little bit better. Turn this down, turn this up. Xbox is just like,
turn it on.
HDR settings. It's like,
exactly.
You want it brighter? Do you want this horrible image brighter, or do you want it darker?
Yeah, that's about it. And if you're lucky, you get to choose between a quality and performance mode, and then just play the game. Yeah.
Yep, that is it. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind it though. That's where I came from. That's my roots is console gaming. But I definitely had a tinker side. But now I'm getting to the age where I'm like, that tinkering stuff ain't that fun anymore.
Yeah.
I just like talking about gaming, maybe doing a little bit of research, and then just playing the damn shit.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more, man.
All right, so we're kind of caught up a little bit on some of the older history. I want to talk about some of the more recent consoles, right? Because you told me about kind of your way of getting into Xbox. You kind of showed me your way of getting into PlayStation. You told me about your entrance for Nintendo and how it stuck with you through the 64, GameCube, and continued on. But it was really strong with that 64 because it was the first time you actually had to, bust your ass for something. And then you got it and you're like, yo, this is the mecca right here. This is nice. So kind of continuing on from that, I need to know what kind of, because a lot of things switched for a lot of people after the PlayStation 2 original Xbox generation and the Nintendo GameCube generation. A lot of the ways that gaming was going down completely switched.
Yeah.
You're now seeing Nintendo using Wii remotes, swinging controllers around like swords, right? You're seeing Xbox, or before I get to Xbox, you're seeing PlayStation put a hard drive in their console for the first time, and they doubled down on movies being able to be playable into your console by using a Blu-ray drive, which is way more high quality than the previous DVD drive, right? And you're seeing Microsoft take the next step into online gaming and heavy. Like extra heavy in the online gaming to where they have a UI that supports being online and understanding and following where people are going and whatnot. Because the UI on the original Xbox, although it was very simple, it did not get you around very easy when it came to like Xbox Live and stuff like that. It was kind of chunky. The interface was really slow. So the 360 really brought it out to shine and said, "Yo, we ready to meet some friends? Are you?"
Yeah.
So with all this kind of happening, I want to know. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, sure.
I want to know your kind of thoughts for this generation and kind of where you were with it. Did you have all the consoles, or did you just only have one?
I did have them all. Not at launch. Honestly, the PS3 was simply too expensive at the time. So I got that, I want to say 2 or 3 years into the PS3 generation.
Sure.
But yeah, I did have them. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's online gaming. It started with Halo 2. Yeah. But like you said, it was still, I want to say, a little limited because mainly that was or at least it's the only game I remember playing online on the OG Xbox, and the proper online gaming on console was then established with the 360, and of course that also had a lot to do with the fact that was around the time when bandwidth broadband internet was actually becoming a standard, at least here in Germany. I don't know exactly when that was established, like as the standard in the US, but it was around that time when we switched, from the classic dial-in modem, where you had to pay for every minute that you're online to like having broadband internet. But yeah, like you said, the 360 was the first console to properly support that and actually allowed you to make online or start online communities.
Right.
It was also the time when I started to actually be active in forums, gaming forums and stuff like that. we had these, giant ICQ chat groups about gaming with people you met online. I remember, in the early 360 days, ICQ was still a big thing. And we always met online, when you met someone online and you exchanged then ICQ numbers to just stay in contact. And things like that started in these early 360 generation. And I think that is or was the game changer. It was not just online playing, because you had online gaming for a while, especially on PC. Like, I remember Diablo 2. You don't want to know how many hours I spent playing Diablo 2, but for console that was different. And the thing that is something I think that stuck with Xbox to this day is they've always been focused on community. They were the ones that allowed to actually create communities, meet people online. And to this day, I actually am in regular contact with a couple of guys from one is from Italy and the other guy is from the US that I met in the early 360 days playing called Battlefield, actually. And it's that was just something special, something you have not known. And I remember we were all like feeling awkward playing online, talking to strangers. Like this random dude.
Super weird.
It was super weird
because people would be telling you where they're at, and you'd be like, "Nah, you ain't over there, man. Ain't no way I'm talking to somebody that far away."
Yeah, exactly, but they implemented that in their, like DNA in the system, like you said. It was convenient to do that. You were able to send messages. A little later they added it, but you know what I mean. It's like they established the online we know today and are used to today with that console in their early days, and that's just something special. And again, to this day, you can tell that Xbox is very community focused. They nurture those growing communities. May it be through online play, and now, of course, with a lot of other things where they just, they are the company that have all these events like FanFest and stuff for fans and communities to actually meet. It's like, yeah, that's the thing that Xbox has really innovated on and changed the gaming landscape. Because yeah, the PS3 also had online a little later, but it was always like the afterthought, It was never like built for it. And that's really the difference. And it was a special time. Again, super awkward, but very special. Yeah.
No doubt. I want you to talk a little bit about the Wii. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I want you to talk a little bit about the Wii, because you said that you did own it during that time period. And this really, in my opinion, when Nintendo was comfortable with stepping out and doing something completely different, because it seemed like with the GameCube, that was their final straw with trying to keep up with PlayStation and whoever else on fidelity and all this other just basic gamer stuff. They were like, with the Wii, we're actually going to try to go so left that y'all don't see it coming. So I want you to tell me your experience with the Wii, because everybody had the bowling game and stuff like that.
Hey, listen, I never really got warm with the Wii. It was like a super fantastic party machine. You like, of course, Wii Sports, but there were so many like games. You were like, okay, you had a couple of guys over and you had a great time playing that. But as a serious console, when you just wanted to play for yourself or online, or it wasn't that. I don't think that the single player experiences were that great. Yes, Super Mario Galaxy was cool, but I still feel it is a little overrated because it was just annoying. And then the controls didn't work sometimes, and it was just, Also, I love Zelda. It's one of my absolute favorite franchises. But Skyward Sword, come on, that wasn't it. Yeah. And so yeah, it was a great like party machine, and I think that was the main success of this console, that it catered to the more casual audience. Like grandma suddenly played video games because it was very intuitive, and I appreciate Nintendo for trying to do that and actually do try something different and not just have like a third console that tries to compete in the graphics department. I appreciate that, and it was a fun device for those experiences. But if you wanted to go down and play like as a core gamer, deep experiences, that console wasn't it. You had that on PlayStation, you had that on Xbox, where you had the massive RPGs and this was a time when we transitioned over to the standards that we got to use. First open world games, first branching narratives, and things that we are used to now in games were like introduced during that time frame, when at the same time Nintendo you were playing tennis and bowling and stuff like that. So yeah, I do appreciate what they did, but it wasn't really my console. It was a fun party console.
Yeah, and I mean, it was crazy how well that thing sold, and
Yeah,
how accessible it was, I think, is what really blew that thing up.
yeah,
Because it
yeah,
was like, it was good to work with your grandma, it was good to work with your 3-year-old, as long as you,
yeah,
put those little tether things on them and whatnot.
yeah,
But then you could, use it at parties. I mean, there was just so many great uses for it. But you're absolutely right when it comes to like, oh, I just got off of work.
yeah,
You put you put the briefcase down or the bag down. You go sit on the couch. I cannot to this day imagine pulling up and being like, "Man, I gotta play some Wii." Like, nah.
yeah.
Like, there was never a time where
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly,
I
exactly.
gotta get on this Wii. Like there was times where I was having like a house party, and I was like, "Yo, bring the
Mm.
Wii. This is gonna be
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely.
This is
That's
gonna be
awesome.
something that we could play until everybody else shows up, and then there's no room anymore to play this game."
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But yeah, man, ain't nobody doing all this like when I was working. I'm not finna work all day at the airport, listening to all these loud planes, swinging my arms, trafficking planes in, telling them where to go, just so I can go home and do the same thing with my arms. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying
Yeah,
to do that.
exactly, man. I
Uh-uh.
want to lay down, put my feet up, and just relax and rest. And it felt like, no, oh no, I have to. Absolutely, absolutely.
Looks like abuse when you said it like that. Oh, goodness gracious. But anyways, all right. So then there was PlayStation, right? So you said you
Mhm.
got that a little bit later because of the
Yeah,
price, obviously, and
yeah,
I feel like that's a lot of people, right? And that's why
yeah,
they ended up knocking down that price, taking away some of the features,
yeah,
and stuff like that. Which is something which is ironic that we're asking for them to do again now, right? We
yeah,
want them old features like the PlayStation 3, and especially a lot of us are grown up now, so we look at those prices and we're like, we'll pay for that convenience compared to
yeah.
back then. But still, I think $700 is still a lot of money.
It was
650,
just too
seven
much.
hundred
Yeah,
dollars. I mean, you're still kind of starting to butt up near some people's comfort level with PC gaming versus console gaming, right?
exactly.
So, I want to hear from you. What did you think about the PlayStation 3 throughout its generation? First it was kind of slow, and then towards the end, it was it was burning. It
Yeah,
was
it was.
turning and turning. So going ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great generation overall. PS3 and Xbox 360,
Hmm.
probably the best generation so far. If you talk about now PlayStation and PlayStation 3 particularly, there was a generation where these cinematic experiences first appeared. Yeah, we had the first Uncharted. You had a God of War 3, like Jesus Christ, that was an insanely good game. You had these kind of experiences. I don't know if that's fair, but maybe that's just a me thing, because it was also like my time when I transitioned from, being a young boy into the more adult life, but it also felt the same on the gaming side of things,
No, it
and
did. Very mature.
definitely, yeah, it matured, and the things that PlayStation just did well were like, that's when it started, that they had these great, exclusive games, and that's what I will remember the PS3 generation for. I think that's where they started to have these amazing first party lineups that PlayStation is just known for. Yeah, they also tried to dabble in the motion
Oh, the
control
move.
thing with the move and things like that.
Getting
So
stunned.
yeah, didn't really care for it, but they experimented a lot already during that day, and it also was the time when the consoles, well, you were able to use them as your media center, and
Mhm.
um, the PlayStation 3 just had the advantage of having the Blu-ray drive. Um, that's
Had
actually
all your
then
media in one place. It was really good.
exactly. When Blu-ray started to be the standard, and we moved over from DVD to Blu-ray, there was like all the PlayStation was actually almost the cheapest option you could get as a Blu-ray player. Yeah,
Which was
the early
crazy.
yeah, exactly. The early Blu-ray players were like super expensive, and and that's what, obviously, Xbox with the HD DVD drive, those HD DVDs just didn't establish themselves as being the standard around the globe. Um, and so yeah, the PlayStation 3 also was that console that was just like, okay, now the console is also the hub of your media center, because you were able to watch Blu-rays, and um, obviously you could also watch like movies on an HD drive or something from on Xbox. But since I was using it regularly for my for as a Blu-ray player, it was just like, yeah, starting to become the media center console. Um, that's yeah. So I think that's my overall thought of the PlayStation 3 generation. Great generation, fantastic times. Um, yeah,
No. I like it because you're absolutely right with this, with the whole Blu-ray drive and everything.
yeah,
Yo, some of those Blu-ray players, all they did, like the PlayStation played video games, it housed media for you,
yeah,
it played
exactly.
Blu-rays, it connected to online. A lot of these Blu-ray players back in that time,
But
$1,500 for
yeah, exactly.
all it did was play your Blu-ray and have an HDMI. That half of the time these pieces of hardware didn't even come with. You had to buy the HDMI
Yeah,
cable separate, which that thing was a minimum of $50
yeah,
for one cable. Yeah, the cable that you can go now to Best Buy with or Walmart right up the street and buy for $5. That cable was $50.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was
That's
it was mega expensive. So when
yes.
PlayStation came out with theirs, it was like, yo, this PS3 is expensive, but
Mm,
when you compare and contrast to just players that are just strictly Blu-ray and they don't do anything else, this is a bargain right here. So
absolutely.
so you picked it up, put all that media on there, played the Blu-ray. You were in awe. You had you got your 1080p
Yeah,
availability now, so things are
yeah,
looking smooth finally.
yeah,
You can get those silly little component cables up out of here, right? We on
yeah,
HDMI, no more S video cable, we HDMI. So it was really a big selling point back in that time, but
yeah,
but it was still hard for a gamer
to swallow the pill of paying that much money because we bought it to play video games, as to where others were trying to compare it to, oh, but the Blu-ray drive is cheaper. It's like I was never in the market to buy a Blu-ray drive. So like those comparisons kind of fell short on ears of most gamers, but once they dropped that price, man, they were slinging those things.
Indeed, they were.
PlayStation 3, phenomenal generation, but let's kind of keep it moving because I'm supposed to be done with this subject by this time, but I'm not. But anyway, let's go on ahead and kind of smash the last two generations together because they kind of do go together. Really, all these generations kind of fold into each other somehow, some way. So the Xbox One generation, let's talk about just that up to the Series S and X now. How do you feel like they maneuvered into being who they are kind of today, where they're like the Microsoft that got Activision, Bethesda, they got, that bad man Phil Spencer, that scary woman Sarah Bond, like the people that are smiling on your face with, they got the right behind their back, they're ready to get you. They are ready to get you, but they will smile. And I love it because, it's just that extra level of competitiveness, right?
Yes.
And it's a weird kind of respectful, but that there's a little bit of side-eyeing going on. What do you have to think about that compared to, back when, what was it? Not Pete Hines. I'm thinking of Pete, the Xbox 360 dude. I'm messing up on my name right now.
Peter Moore.
From the transition from Peter Moore to the Xbox One guy. I told you I forget names all the time.
I'm just happy it's not just me.
No, I know I do this all the time, especially when I'm right when I'm live.
Don Matrick, the guy.
Yeah, Don Matrick. So the passover from Don Matrick to from Peter Moore to Don Matrick, and then now we're seeing that passover from or we seen the passover from Don Matrick to Phil Spencer, and now we're starting to think there could be a passover from Phil Spencer to possibly like a Sarah Bond. How have you been thinking that this business has been looking from the outside looking in, bird's eye view, GTA 2 style? GTA 2 style. Bird's eye view.
Bird's eye view. I mean, it's been a bumpy road, right? To get them to where they are now. Listen, I still think that the Xbox One reveal wasn't that bad. I mean, if you think about it, we have all those things now in the consoles. We have the always online. Whether you like it or not, all the consoles are always online consoles now. And we have transitioned over to a digital-only library. And we have all those things, minus the TV, because simply smart TVs just emerged. And there's really no need to have a dedicated device to play Netflix. Every TV does that now and has the app. But other than that, I actually enjoy or liked the idea of the Xbox One. But obviously, the market wasn't ready. Yeah, people were like, oh, always online, the DRM and this and that. Things that we are used to now. And I also think like the first 2-3 years of the Xbox One generation were fantastic from a games point of view. If you think about the great games we got in the first couple of years, they've been obviously your Forzas and Halos, but there's also been games like Quantum Break and Sunset Overdrive and all those things, So I don't think that the start of the gen was actually that good, but obviously from the media and the wider audience, Xbox was really like hit hard. And they were down. The perception was not good. And then obviously they had to close down studios like Lionhead, our Fable studio. It was just shut down. Yeah, tragic. I love Fable, man. And stuff like that happened. And they were left with like 3-4 studios. And that's it. Yeah, and there was no roadmap, no vision. And then Phil Spencer took over. And I still think Xbox is trying to recover from that Xbox One thing, because if you think about it, like they were on such a high after the 360 generation, which was a phenomenal generation for them. Yeah, they had the first party exclusive, they had the third party exclusive. You think about Mass Effect, Oblivion, all like, Xbox exclusives, stuff like that. They had a phenomenal generation there. But and to this day, they try to recover from that original messed up launch of the Xbox One. And then, of course, they hit in the middle of the generation. They hit the hard dry streak, when it was just obvious they didn't have studios. But then Phil Spencer came along, and I still think Phil looked at it realistically and said, okay, if we just want to try to do the same like PlayStation, we will never win. We have to change the industry in order for us to become a successful business unit within Microsoft. And now you look at what he has done. He started out with backwards compatibility back in 2015, I want to say. Yeah. They started the cloud initiative. Then in 2017, or was it 18? 17 or 18, they had Game Pass, the first proper subscription service, which was really a game changer. They had obviously the cross play and not just cross play, I mean cross buy thing, where they started to create the ecosystem, the Xbox ecosystem, where I remember Quantum Break was the first game to have that. Yeah, you got that on Xbox, you had it on PC, and your save files carried over. Things like that really, were like crazy good innovations. We all love those features now, right? Being able to go back and forth in between console, PC. Now, obviously, with the Ally, I love that. I can play Starfield and then continue on my console, go back to the Ally, and it's just seamless.
Right.
That's the things that they established like midway through. That's also when they doubled down on the power narrative with the Xbox, the sole intention of the Xbox One X, and they launched it a year later than the PS4 Pro. The mid-gen refresh console was to beat them in power. And we've seen that throughout the entire Xbox One generation. Then they started to buy the studios, and you could really tell, okay, they are now moving over from being a organization that didn't have a vision, that didn't have a proper plan on how to succeed in gaming.
I think
not
that's
just
a big
console,
deal
but
right
in
there.
gaming. Yeah, that was that time frame. And it's only now in 23 where we start to see the outcome of this, because this stuff takes years. But this is also the reason why Xbox is so much better prepared for the next years in gaming, because all the work they did, being able to have cross progression across multiple devices, to being able to have a proper cloud working in the background, this is all things that are in the back end. Yeah, changing like the entire operating system of the Xbox. That's something they did during the Xbox One generation. No console manufacturer has ever done that. They changed the core essence of your operating system within one single generation. But they did that, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle. And the thing that they were not able to do simultaneously is to actually release games, first party games, because priorities. But that's when they started to create that back end to be able to deliver now with the ecosystem, with the Game Pass subscription. I mean, Game Pass isn't particularly new now. We have had it now for like 6-7 years. Yeah. Where Sony only just started that to do that properly like a year ago. You know what I mean? And it's they set themselves, the console and the entire business unit, up to be able to go into the future. Now they are system ecosystem. You know, PC is Xbox. Every phone is Xbox. There are all these Windows devices, handhelds out there, where Xbox games play on natively, and that's the thing that they established during the Xbox One generation. It's not the Series X generation, and that's why I really don't think that this generation was that bad. You can argue all day long, yeah, they didn't have as many games as PlayStation, and they didn't have this and that. The success, you know, the console sales and the earnings and so on. I don't care for that. I always look at it, what do we as gamers get out of it? And they laid the groundwork for like the best value in gaming, which is not just Game Pass, it's this entire ecosystem. Yeah. And I think if I look back now, I mean, the generation is now over for 3 years, a little bit more than 3 years now, yeah. And it's actually crazy what we got out of this generation. Yeah, we also had the introduction of the idea of a mid-gen upgrade, which I love. I wish they would do it this gen too. Yeah. And I have very fond memories of this generation. I don't care for console sales. I don't own Microsoft stock, you know, so who cares? But as a gamer, we got a lot out of this generation. Also, the establishment of backwards compatibility, which is something I don't see a lot of people talk about, but Xbox were the ones to introduce that into consoles. Yeah. There's no way the PS5 would have had those backwards compatibility features if Xbox didn't establish them back in 2015, and not just by being able to actually play the games, but naturally enhance them. Yeah. And it is something for someone who plays video games his entire life. I love that idea that I just can go back to some of my classics, my favorites, you know, and play them, experience them again. This is where Xbox just created an ecosystem, and I think that's the reason why my preference lies with Xbox and not with PlayStation. I still have both consoles, all consoles. I also have the Switch, of course, but I mainly play on Xbox. I use the PlayStation as my exclusive machine, yeah, and it's a cool device. Don't get me wrong. Loved Spider-Man and everything's cool, but if I look at it, I just get a lot more value overall out of the Xbox console and ecosystem, you know, and the groundwork was laid during the Xbox One generation for that, and that's why I actually thought it was a great generation, because it brought us into modern day gaming. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of a lot of groundwork, there was quite a bit of groundwork being done on the other side of the fence as well for PlayStation. Just different.
Yeah.
Right?
Differently.
So I want
Absolutely.
you to talk a little bit about your PS4 to now PS5 kind of experience. And I just want to hear like what really poked out during that generation that was like really cool to you and interesting, that PlayStation seemed to be more. I mean, if you're asking, if I'm asking myself this question, I'm like, man, PlayStation seemed a little bit more ready, not completely ready, because the PlayStation 4, you know, beginning was still kind of slow.
It was
But they were
slow.
still, yeah. but once they got cooking, it was a mess for Xbox, right? Because PlayStation would just jumped so far into the lead. It was just like kind of hands up at that point. I want to hear from you particularly. What did you think was like the how do I put this? Like the kind of the snapping point for PlayStation. Would you even say it was back going into PS3, ramping into PS4?
Probably, because again, like a lot of those great studios, Santa Monica, Naughty Dog, and so on, they were either founded or acquired in the PS3 generation, and we had games like Uncharted 1, 2, 3, during that generation, and that's where they started. But they weren't on that roll just yet, where they were able to release like every year 2, 3 bangers, And they actually weren't for the first 2 or 3 years into the PlayStation 4 generation. If you remember, we called the PlayStation the indie station. Yeah. In the first 2 years of the PS4 generation, they heavily relied on indies because they had no first-party games ready just yet. But obviously, back in those days, games were created a little bit faster, where we are now in this 5, 6, 7-year development cycle. We had the 2, 3, 4-year development cycle during that time. But the first, and I actually loved that they also established a lot better the indie games on consoles. That was something that PlayStation started. Xbox adopted that, and PlayStation dropped it midway through the generations. Indies were nowhere to be found on PlayStation. And with the ID at Xbox program, indie gaming, if you want to play indie games on console, Xbox is the place to go. The ID at Xbox program is so far ahead of what PlayStation does now for indies. But early PS4 days, indie games were established, and I love indie games, man. Such creative games come out of some of these indie studios. It's crazy. So, but then, yeah, like you said, the storm break loose. I think Uncharted kicked it off. Uncharted 4 came out, and after that, they were just on a roll. Like every year, 2, 3 major games, and also the confidence with which they communicated towards the community. If you remember, that was it 2014 or 15 E3 showcase, with Flute Guy and everything, where they were just like, okay, listen, and Spider-Man is coming, and Days Gone is coming, and with Death Stranding, and God of War is coming back, and you got Ghost of Tsushima, and they revealed all those insanely great experiences, and people were like, oh yeah, dude, I gotta get this PS4, because eventually I will get to play a Spider-Man game like that looks like that, and a super cool zombie game that is Days Gone, and this and that, Ghost of Tsushima, and this was just, yeah, they took Xbox by surprise on that, because Xbox was at that time, they had 3, 4 studios, and they shut one of them down, and they were really like, okay, we don't have a first party roadmap. Yeah, we have like the 3 core Gears, Forza, and Halo, and that's it. And it took Xbox 3 years in between Uncharted 4 and 2018. Yeah, 3 years, 15 to 18, where they had no first party studios outside of those 3 core IPs, and PlayStation just nailed it. And that's also how they started then the PS5 generation. They lived off of those laurels that Sean Layden actually established. Yeah, Jim Ryan had obviously a very different idea where they would go to, but they had all those games in the pipeline. And now we start to see, okay, what's the idea from Jim Ryan? Because now we live in the time where the Jim Ryan games come out, the first 2 years of this generation were still all games that were greenlit under Sean Layden. But they also changed a lot in the ways how they communicate and behave towards their fan base. And that's still something I feel very disappointed in PlayStation, because if we think about how they started this generation, they were the first ones to increase the game prices. Yeah. They straight out lied. The thing we believe in generations, communication like that, and simply not having the same quality of hardware engineering in the actual console, and all those things combined, not believing in subscription services where you get like day one games on the one side and they didn't have a subscription service at all, and it's like it was just a very different PlayStation. They stopped doing E3s and other showcases. Yeah, no shows they haven't been at Gamescom in 4 years. Which
it's
is
kind of like that nose up, pinky out, kind of like just
exactly this
like
Jim Ryan attitude, and that's also when the
PlayStation isn't that like that's not what we came from as kids. Is
exactly.
like, yo, you guys were the ones, doing like if we look back when PlayStation originally came out, they literally did it like Xbox is trying to do it like recently, except Xbox is using subscription services. They're leaning more into that. But the whole idea of, oh, well, seeing that you kind of screwed me over, I'm gonna buy this, this, and this, this, and this, and you're gonna have to deal with that. Because that's what PlayStation, the original PlayStation 1, when that came out, they were like, oh, well, I see you, Nintendo. I'm buying all of them, and you can't have it.
yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what they did.
It's exactly what they did. Yeah, and like you said,
this for your dollar from PlayStation that really made you like love who they were, because it was like, oh man, the games are cheaper over here. They're more quality over here. That was the whole thing between Xbox and Nintendo. Was like, man, they got the CD-ROM. They're really working out here. They got the quality. They got the sound. They got all this stuff. Meanwhile, Nintendo, the 64 is hot, but it's just like, you lost one of your big dogs with Final Fantasy, and it is cooking over here.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I feel like Jim Ryan really has hurt this reputations. Core gamers definitely started noticing, definitely, and it's not just. There will always be like the hardcore fanboys out there that will defend everything. We have that on all platforms, but core gamers are noticing. Sure. Hey, absolutely. Like there's a disconnect in between us, the community, and PlayStation, and that was something they were really good at. Like you said, they fought for our money. Yeah, they wanted to provide you value in gaming, and you don't have that feeling anymore. There's everything. I've said this on my podcast a while ago, and I got a little shitstorm out of it, but everything feels a little bit like a ripoff these days. We increase console prices, game prices, we charge extra for that and extra for this, and we live in the year 2023, man. Why do I still have to pay for cloud save files, for God's sakes? That is like beyond me, and if you just look at that, on top, you get the really piss-poor communication from Jim Ryan with some of the things he has said over the years. And it's not just the weird-ass stuff he said during the ABK trial. I still feel like if you want to sell your new console and you come out and just say, okay, we believe in two generations, and you will only be able to play those games on PlayStation 5, just to sell you the console, and then literally days later announce, okay, come on, every game is still cross-gen, and it's going to be for 3 years plus. It's like that really, you can tell that's the disconnect. And there's all these no-shows. Yeah, they had no showcase at all during the entire year of 2022. They had no... they had a showcase this year, but no one liked it. And they have no roadmap now. Now, when you look at PlayStation, what are you excited about, man? For me, it's Wolverine, and that's about it. The rest of the things, I don't want to play a Foam Star. I'm not interested in these weird-ass games as a service titles. And there's really nothing else on the headline. We know
it's not my stick, anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody wants games as a service these days anymore. Listen, games as a service, we all have them, but you have one. You have one of those games as a service, maybe a Fortnite or a Call of Duty Warzone, and you invest time and money into that, and you stick with that one, and you don't have the time, money, or interest in playing like 10 different games as a service titles. You usually play the one. Yeah. And so the games as a service market is super hard in 2023. Now, starting to chase that trend now, where like every announcement of a games as a service title gets a shitstorm. Look at Suicide Squad. Rocksteady, beloved developer. Everyone loves the Arkham games. We know Rocksteady, quality games. They come out, show Suicide Squad, and while the campaign actually looks super fun, nobody cares because not again another games as a service title.
Yeah,
and even with the biggest IPs, you fail. You have the Avengers, Anthem, super failures, and nobody wants those games anymore. Because this market is saturated. And in this day and age, you start to shift away from what makes your brand so successful and beloved around the globe, the number one console brand, and move away. And eventually they will have a couple of games on the PlayStation. We know Naughty Dog is working on something, and Bend and all the studios. But we have no idea when we will be able to play that. Yeah, I don't want to play
what it even is.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's outside of another Last of Us remake, we have no idea what we will be playing in 24 or 25 or beyond. No idea, and that's why I say there's in the core gaming community, I don't see a general excitement around PlayStation, because what's to be excited about? There's nothing. Yeah, and obviously, if you look at the Xbox side of things, you have all those games, and yes, it takes Xbox way too long to release those games. Yeah, 2022 is unexcusable, but still, we look at. Yeah, I mean, come on. After buying all those studios back in 2018, and you can't have an entire year with nothing. And actually, I would argue
4 years
up until
ain't got none.
Yeah, and then up until Starfield, this generation wasn't particularly great for Xbox. If I'm honest, I don't think that they had a great generation so far. Yeah, they launched the console without games. Then we had in 21, the brief time frame of 3 months where they brought up Psychonauts and Forza and Forza Horizon and Halo. And then we had another like almost 18 months of nothing. Yeah, yes, there were some cool releases like a Hi-Fi and a Pentiment, but we wanted those blockbuster games. Yeah, and in between there was really nothing. Yes, Game Pass still delivered. Yeah, is always a great value. But if you look, they didn't deliver on the power promise. They didn't deliver on the first party games. And so I don't think that they had a particularly great start into this generation, but man, does the future look bright. Yeah. They had Starfield this year. We forget Redfall, but Forza was great. Yeah. And if you look at next year with Hellblade and Avowed, and then we have the Fables and the Perfect Darks and State of Decay and Indiana Jones and Elder Scrolls and all those games, and we're not even mentioning the ABK stuff. The future of Xbox looks so bright, and it's exciting. It's exciting. It's exciting to be an Xbox gamer. I don't feel the same as a PlayStation gamer, and so this is actually really a weird transition. Yeah, it still doesn't show just yet in the console sales. Yeah, we've seen that in the last couple of weeks. But the future of Xbox is super exciting for gamers. And it's a weird transition in between the last gen and this gen. Because PlayStation was on such a high, and they dropped the ball hard here.
No doubt. Lastly, I want to ask you about Nintendo. I want to kind of briefly get through this because I really want to ask you a few other questions before we tie this up and get up out of here. With Nintendo, I'm interested in your thoughts because it's just like they just came out of this Wii U debacle, right? Because it could be because the first Wii came out and it was hot.
Yes.
And then the Wii U came out and it was not.
It was not. But actually, I enjoyed the Wii U more than the Wii. Honestly, like this streaming feature.
Single player experience that you were talking about.
Yes, exactly. I had more single player experiences, and honestly, I played the Wii U, I think, a lot more than I did my Wii, because the streaming feature where you were able to stream, to the controller with the display, it was something I used a lot, actually. It was the time when Netflix started to be in our household. And I remember, my wife was watching her Netflix show, and I was sitting on the couch playing on the Wii U, streaming to my device, stuff like that. But yeah, it wasn't a success. Yeah, and there's a lot to be able to criticize on that system, but I preferred it over the Wii.
Neat.
But that's me.
It was another edition of Nintendo showing themselves that they want to be completely different than their competitors. This time they were a little too different. I liked the idea, but I could see why it's weird. You got cords everywhere too and stuff like that. It was just kind of a little extra and a little less simplified than your Xbox or PlayStation console. But I want to hear what you think between the Wii U situation to the Switch, and then going from the Switch to whatever. I just kind of want to briefly hear what you got to say about that.
So yeah, I mean, obviously the Wii U was a mess for them. Financially, successfully, they didn't. It was a super short console cycle, 3 years, maybe 4. I can't really remember. Super short console cycle. Obviously, they had to do something. And then they came out with the Switch. I mean, listen, I love the idea, the concept of the Switch, being like this hybrid console, docking station, and a portable one. Because you also have to factor in that the 3DS, which was their handheld at the time, I loved the sweet 3DS, but it had its limits. Like the fact that all developers had to develop either a game for the 3DS or the home console, it was just unsustainable. And so I loved that idea that I now can go back and forth. And there was a time where I would say that the Switch was my most played console, because I travel a lot for work, and I played a lot in handheld mode on the Switch. I took them on the business trips and played in the evening in the hotel. I loved that about the Switch. There are 2 things I don't like about it, and it's actually not the power, because yes, now in 23 it just feels that the hardware is outdated. But there are 2 things, and this is more a general Nintendo problem. I don't like that their games don't go on sale. I just hate it. Because who doesn't get
it's a very similar thing as to why PlayStation is getting sued right now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Very, very similar thing. And Nintendo has been doing that forever. Yeah, they always have the excuse, because we have to.
I would say they're worse than PlayStation at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This is the one thing, and then that they don't have a proper online structure. In the year 23, I don't want to have this kind of weird ass online system. I want.
You don't want to use your phone to talk to people for Nintendo?
Not really. Not really. And it's not just that. Up until a month ago, you wouldn't believe me that if you bought a game in the Nintendo eStore online, it was not attached to your account, but to your device. You were only able to download it once on that particular Switch. If I had a second Switch, or this one broke, all my online games that I bought in the eShop were gone. Like, literally gone. And I've been a digital-only guy since the 360 days. Actually, I started with Far Cry 3 and never bought a physical game on Xbox or PlayStation. I'm really an all-digital guy. But for Nintendo, I still buy the cartridges because of that weird-ass online system. And it is like, and that's my biggest issue with the Switch. I like the Switch. It's a great console. We had fantastic games. I still wish they would go back to more classic Zelda games, though. As much as I like Breath of the Wild and especially Tears of the Kingdom, which was a lot better than Breath of the Wild, I don't consider them Zelda games. It's like moving away from that Metroidvania kind of gameplay to this open world is, yeah, they are good, but man, like I want to go back to the, Ocarina of Times or Twilight Princess, which is still the most underrated Zelda game out there, and those kind of experiences. But I like the Switch, man. It's a great hybrid device. For the love of it, I couldn't imagine it being my only console. I consider the Switch as my companion console, because at the end of the day, again, I'm a core gamer. I love those big AAA games and my indie games, and it's just, you don't feel at home on the Switch if you want to play The Witcher.
Well, you're usually not at home.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean.
I know.
But it's I have the Witcher 3 on the Switch. I have the Witcher 3 is my favorite game of all time. I have it everything, but but and it actually plays great. But that shouldn't be a way to experience The Witcher for the first time. Yeah, it has to be on one of the proper consoles or on PC. But and that's why I say I feel like the Switch is more like a companion console. But yeah, it's been a great generation, and I cannot wait for it to end because the hardware is outdated. It's just too outdated, And but it looks like latest leaks seem to reveal that we get the announcement of the Switch 2 in March next year, so it's not that far off.
Are you going to be day one?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Good enough.
Absolutely. Right. I'm part of the Nintendo problem. We always complain about Nintendo it being so customer unfriendly. Yeah, and then you go out and you buy the Metroid Prime remaster, and you buy for the 100th time, and you buy this and that again. It's just I'm part of the problem,
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like, oh man, we should stop buying these broken games. Ooh, Spider-Man. Like it's just
yeah.
It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
Excitement sometimes trumps the excitement sometimes trumps the smart decision that you should probably be making. But anyways, all right, now I wanted to get into I wanted to understand how and why you became a content creator. Okay. So I want you to take me back. I mean, you don't have to take as long as the last as the last topic at all.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you're limited by any means either, though. But I want you to take me back to when you had maybe one viewer watching, and it was you.
Yeah. Usually, or your wife. She watches, started also to watch at the beginning, but I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, listen. For me, where do I start? I did a lot of. I was very active in a lot of gaming forums. Yeah, some international ones, some German gaming forums, and then I started to become really active on Twitter and gained great community there as well. And that's actually what got me into podcasting. I didn't start directly off doing just my own show, obviously. Yeah, I was a big part of Mr. Boomstick's shows when he was super small. He had 500 subs or so at the time. And that's when I started to do the Xbox Factor podcast with him. He didn't do 5 shows back in the day. He had 2 podcasts. and one was a monthly thing, and the other one was the weekly Xbox Factor podcast. That's when we started, and that's actually what got me into podcasting. And from that, I found.
Though? Like, how were you even approached? Like, what got you to get noticed in the first place?
It was Twitter, actually. I love to talk about gaming on Twitter, and
all those forums and stuff,
and forums and stuff. Yeah, and then I met Boom on Twitter. Again, he was super small. Nobody knew who Mr. Boomstick was. Now he's a well established, creator in the community, and I love him like a brother. But he was super small, and we had I remember that we had a heated conversation in the DMs on Twitter, but I can't remember the topic. But we had we were going back and forth, and actually we tried to call each other, but the WhatsApp calls really didn't work properly at the time, and it was and then and overseas calls are still way too expensive on the phone. So yeah, and then he was like, bro, you have to come on my podcast. And then we discussed this on the podcast, because this thing in the DMs is just not working to discuss this properly. And that's actually when I did my first podcast with him. And then I got noticed being on Boom's show by others. And I guested on so many different podcasts. Seasoned Gaming had started their show. I was a couple of times on there. I was on the Iron Lords. I was on and so many other podcasts. And a lot of people started to ask me, man, why don't you do your own channel and things? And I was always like, man, I don't have the time. I don't know how to edit videos. I don't know how to do all that stuff, I just don't have the time. And then the pandemic started. And I got sent off work for 4-6 weeks or so, unpaid leave, stay at home. And I was at home. Kids were at home. Wife was at home. Everyone was at home. Yeah. And I was like, man, now I have the time. If I don't do it now, I will never do it, And that's when I started to my own YouTube channel. And I, like you said, I had one subscriber, and that was me. And I got a second one, that was my wife. And I didn't know how to edit videos and all those things. And I actually, started to talk then to some creators I know. I talked to Dealer. Yeah. I talked to Rand and Althor and guys like that just know how to do these things, And they gave me a lot of advice, man. Try this software or that, and try doing this or that. And then I started doing these edited videos, 10-minute videos once or twice a week. And I put in a lot of work in those videos. It takes me, a 10-minute video takes me usually 5 to 7 hours to make. And since I have a technical background, I'm an electronics engineer, I started to focus a little bit more on the tech side of things. And it was also the time when, we had the announcements for the next gen consoles, and there was a lot of tech stuff talk going around anyway, And then I started to do those videos more with the focus on explaining certain things, what's actually RDNA 2? How does it work? Why is it so performed over RDNA 1? What's ray tracing? How does it work? What are mesh shaders? And stuff like that. That's where I focused. And that's actually where I gained most of my follower base. For some reason, those videos took off, and then I started to invest in a better PC. That's actually when I built my 3080 PC, and invest a little bit in better equipment so I can do even better quality videos. And and that's when the channel grew. And it has been growing ever since, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. And then at some point I decided to start my own podcast, The World of Gaming. And we have our, actually very soon coming up, our 100th episode then. there. I still did the podcast with Mr. Boomstick weekly. I started to become a permanent member of the Midweek Mix-Up podcast, but I never did my own podcast. And then, like about 100 weeks ago, I decided to, okay, it's time to do your own podcast as well. And of course, like being a permanent member on 3 podcasts, 2 others and your own, is very time consuming. I wanted to do the weekly edited videos as well, and it became a lot. And so when I switched jobs early this year, in January, I had to make certain decisions, actually, because my new job is a lot more time consuming. And also with COVID being over, everything, goes back to normal. I don't work that much from home anymore. Go like 3 to 4 days per week into the office, and all those things came together. And so I had to like prioritize certain things. I still have a family and 2 kids. I want to have time for those as well. And that's when I unfortunately then decided to drop out of Mr. Boomstick's podcast, because it just conflicted with my working hours. It's always 6 p.m. when the Boomstick podcast starts for me, and I'm usually not at home from work at 6 p.m. So I had to cancel that off. And I also decided, along with Dutch, that I will be guesting from time to time on the Midweek Mix-Up podcast, but not being like there every week. And he just decided then to become permanent co-host of the World of Gaming. And so we switched certain things around. And unfortunately, as of late, I just don't find the time to do the edited videos anymore, because of real life things, I still love to do them, but I can't do them on a weekly basis anymore. But we've been very, very regular with our World of Gaming podcast, where we have like great talks. Also with Dutch being a very tech-focused creator as well, we can also discuss probably, some of the tech side of things in gaming, which we love to do. But also, of course, we have an awesome community. I couldn't be more thankful for that. It just drives me, to do all that, because creating, that better than I do. Being a content creator is time consuming, and it can be exhausting at times. And if you have to balance that out with, family and work and everything, it can be challenging. But the community is so awesome, and I couldn't think of just leaving content creation at all, because I love this community. It's amazing. And yeah, I think that's a brief summary of my content creator history. Yeah. Man, is it just me? Or I can't.
No. It wasn't just you. It was me.
Okay.
No.
What's happening? I can't hear him.
So I can move it, or this sound that you get right there. I don't know. So sometimes I mute it so I can move the mic, and you guys don't.
Absolutely.
That me needing WD-40 on this sucker a little bit. But anyways, no. I was saying that was fantastic. I thought that was really good. But what I'd like to usually do right after this topic is have you pay a little bit of homage to those of you that helped, to those that helped you get to where you are. So if you could, for me, just shout out a few names of people that really helped you get to the spot that you are. I mean, you kind of did with Boom just a little bit ago.
Yeah. Obviously, Boom has been a big inspiration, and he still does this to this day. He gives so many creators like a chance to get a voice, and being able to talk on his podcasts about gaming. He was like a super great inspiration, and I'm truly grateful for him helping me getting started as a creator. But there were others like Dealer Gaming. I don't think people know how much Dealer does behind the scenes for this community. It's crazy. I remember him, jumping in party chats and just explaining stuff to me where man, I've seen your videos. I would recommend try this and that, and things like that. It's just been great. I want to shout out Randall Thor as well. He's also been like super supportive because he's there are certain perfectionists out there like Dealer. He tries to like get every detail right, and Rand is such a pragmatic guy. He likes to, okay, man, you also have to consider you can spend like 30 hours editing your 10-minute video, but at the end of the day, you have to look out and how to get stuff out. And I learned a lot from him as well. And then there's obviously Wandering Dutch, who started at a similar time. He started his channel, I want to say like 6-8 months after me. And we've been growing together, man. And that's also something I super appreciate for him, because to this day, we talk almost on a daily basis, and discussing certain things. And what do we want to change? How do we do that? How can we do this or that? Been super supportive. There's a long list of people. I want maybe Ainsley Bowden from Season Gaming. He was like super helpful. When you start as a creator, you know that it's kind of hard to find your regularly topics, and it was really like, man, I want to do a new video, but I have no idea what to do. This news bit, not worth doing a 10-minute video about it, and this and that. And I learned a lot about how to filter news, how to, get to the point in my scripts, and so on from Ainsley Bowden from Season Gaming. Great friend of mine. Consider him really a close friend. There's a long list, but from the top of my head, I would definitely shout out those.
Yeah, that's awesome. Actually, I was talking to Ains not that long ago. I'm gonna be having him on the show here in the next month or two.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that you brought him up and whatnot. It seems like a really nice gentleman.
He is.
Right.
He is. Yeah. Man.
So I can't wait to get the opportunity to meet him and whatnot, and kind of pick his brain a little bit, like I'm doing with you this afternoon. It's a really good time. We've been here almost 2 hours, so let me go on ahead and wrap this sucker up, because I usually like to keep this around 2 hours, just because I want to respect your time, and plus you're all the way on the other side of the earth for me, so I gotta pay my respects. But a few of the like quick hitter questions I like to ask everybody that comes onto this show is, what's a video game genre that you don't like really playing that much?
Sports games.
Sports games.
I don't. Yeah, it's like really the one genre I don't play. It's like the FIFAs and so on. I just don't. I don't like to play sports games. Yeah.
Gotcha. Quick answer. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. And then what were the best 3 games that you played within the last calendar year, whether they came out in the last calendar year or not? So they could be something way back in 85 that you just got to.
Yeah, just played. Okay. I actually didn't caught up on my backlog that much this year, because there's been like permanent releases. So I actually would... In this calendar year, I've been mostly playing games that actually came out this year. So, what are the top 3? Starfield, definitely. I think that's my game of the year. I loved it. Don't care what anyone says. I had an amazing time still playing it. Top 3. Top 4 would be easier. Because my top 4 would be definitely Hogwarts, Diablo, and Baldur's Gate. Now, if you ask me to kick one out, that's tough, man. Yeah. So I don't know. I would kick out either Hogwarts or Baldur's Gate out of the top 3 then, because Starfield and Diablo, I love both of those, like crazy good games.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so now here's one of my favorite questions. What's your favorite studio and what game best represents that studio?
That's a tough one. Huh. I think I'm going with CD Projekt Red because at
Oh,
the
okay.
end they delivered my favorite game of all time with The Witcher 3. I absolutely loved Cyberpunk as well. Even with all its bugs at launch, it was, I thought, a great game. And what they've done now
Crazy
with
story
Phantom
now, isn't it?
Liberty, it's amazing. It's just a really, really good game. But we never talk about it. But Witcher 2 also was like insanely good. At its time, um, if you play it now, I don't know if you would like, if you have no nostalgia for it. I don't know how well it would or has aged. There are certain things in that game that feel outdated now, but at the time, The Witcher 2 was like crazy good. Like, so I would say like CD Projekt Red has never disappointed me. Yeah. Would I have loved Cyberpunk to come out more polished? Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. Yeah, but at its core, it was still and still is an insanely good game, and so I could go with that. I could also actually, maybe name Rocksteady because I so love the Arkham games. Uh, so, yeah, there are some crazy good studios, but if you would make me choose, I'd go with CD Projekt Red. Yeah.
And you went back and brought up the 360 days because that was a
Yeah.
double disc on 360 right there.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that was a fatty game right there. It's pretty thick. Shout out to Drawn TJ saying the Xbox 360 was better. You could burn CDs to Xbox, and in the original Xbox, you could do that too. The 360, you could do that too. The 360 was, although we talked about PlayStation, how good their media center was, 360 was no
360
slouch.
No, not at all. Not at all. It was great, man. It was great. They were actually the ones to establish like the, Netflix apps and so on consoles. They were the first ones to have it. And it was crazy good, man.
It was. Yeah, Netflix and chill was real back then.
Yeah. It was.
All right, and let's see. We got just like a few other little quick hit questions here. What is the next game that you're most excited for 2024 and beyond? So you can't pick anything. There ain't a whole lot left for the rest of this year, but you can't pick anything from this
Avatar this year. I don't think that's it, right? So next year or beyond.
Or beyond. Yep.
I would say Fable. I love the original Fables, all three. Actually, I even enjoyed. I'm one of those weird guys that even enjoyed Fable 3. I thought that was a fun game. Not as good as 2, but still very good game.
Good. I like 3. I just don't really enjoy its like map system and also the kind of changing area where it's kind of like you hit the back button or select or something like that, and then you're in a house and you go over here. Like I didn't really enjoy that stuff so much. I was just like, can I just change right now on the go and not have to go back to this house and look through a bunch of cabinets and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Wasn't a fan of that, but it was a fun game. The hacking
it definitely was
great.
Yeah. So, and like, I have so much faith in Playground. They are just one of those developers that don't settle with mediocre. They're perfectionists, and I want to see what they can do outside of the racing genre. And they've said it on many occasions that they want to be one of these top tier studios. They want to be named along, with Rockstar and Naughty Dog as these absolute quality studios. And everything we've seen from Fable so far just tells me that they are going to hit the nail on the head with that game, and I'm super excited for that. I mean, now looking at 24, it looks like also a phenomenal game, a year for games, with Hellblade 2 obviously looking fantastic. But I'm a sucker for RPGs, and if I had to choose the one game that I'm looking forward to the most, I don't want to say Elder Scrolls 6 just yet, because that's so far off, that I just want to hype myself just yet. But yeah, so I'm going with Fable.
All right, I like it. I'm really looking forward to that sucker as well. I'm interested in the comedy part a little more than usual with Fable this time around, just because of who they have included into this game and how they kind of portray you as your character. So I'm really interested in, like, is this gonna be like legit funny, or is it gonna be corny funny?
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one it is going to be yet, because
I don't know either.
Kind of known for both. They're good at being really corny and me not loving it, but they're also good at surprising me. And like Hi-Fi Rush, I was cracking up during playing that game. I thought that was hilarious with 808.
It was.
I just thought that was that joint was funny, legit. But let's see. The next one is, if you were to revive two games that were not in the last generation, they have to be dead IPs. What two dead IPs are you bringing back to revive?
StarCraft.
Okay.
Definitely.
That might be looking like it might be making a comeback, though.
I hope so. But even if even if
existence,
yes, man. Even if Xbox would greenlit it today, it would still take us 5 to 7 years till we play it. So, but yeah, that's definitely one. And then, what other dead IP could they bring back? There are a couple of IPs I would love to see. Crimson Skies.
Yo,
I'm going with Crimson Skies because, man, that game was just so good. The Indiana Jones vibes with amazing dogfighting and great stories.
Story, like, where do they do that at?
Yeah,
I mean, I guess Ace Combat did it, but that was like very military.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah. No, it was like just bring that back, man.
I love that answer. That is fantastic. Very good one. Very good one. You and Post Up hit me up with some good ones. I mean,
what did Post Up say?
Post Up said, I don't remember what his other one was, but the one that caught me off guard, like you just did with Crimson Skies, he said Fusion Frenzy. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be phenomenal.
That's a good one.
System, I could do that all day.
Oh, yeah.
I love System and Sumo. Those were my two favorite things in that game. Those were hot. All right, and then here's the last two questions before I have you do what I have everybody do before they leave. But here's these last two questions. The first one is, what frustrates you in gaming, if anything? And then the second half of that is, what would be a dream come true? Let's go with the bad before we go with the good, just to get it out of the way.
All right.
What frustrates you in gaming, if anything?
I mean, there are two things right now, actually, that I find kind of frustrating. The first one is the negativity around gaming sometimes. When you go out and post, man, I love Starfield, you have like 1,200 replies underneath it, people telling you why you shouldn't love it, or you enjoy Hogwarts Legacy, and then people come out and, man, you're not woke enough, and blah, blah, blah. And, this kind of thing, when you try to spread positivity and it just see that all this negativity around it. That's the one thing, and the other thing is like broken games, man. I think the amount of games that launched broken this year alone, if you look at that, like almost every game came out unpolished or unfinished. And that's, I think that those are the two things that I.
The only game I can think of that came out smooth or even close to being perfect smooth is Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, that was flawless. That was a flawless experience.
Every other game, including Starfield. Yeah, we said Starfield is the least buggy Bethesda game. Not that it doesn't have bugs. It definitely had some bugs. Right. And I'd actually go as far to say as I probably ran into more bugs playing like little dumb bugs. I'm not talking about game breaking. Oh man, my Xbox or PlayStation looks like it's about to catch fire. No, none of this stuff. I'm talking about little bugs. I probably had more little bugs in Spider-Man than I had in Starfield. But some of the ones that happened in Starfield were just like more puzzle. Like some of the stuff that happened in Starfield for me were just like, what is happening here? Like not being able to like use certain weapons in certain times or like having conversation. But see, that game is much more deep and has a lot more mechanics and stuff like that. So I'm not as surprised that the bugs were crazier for Starfield, but I was surprised to see a short game like Spider-Man have as many bugs as it did.
Yeah, especially coming from Insomniac. They are
so
known as being like quality studios, and we are like used to bugs in a Bethesda game. So, but even like Baldur's Gate 3, you know, once you hit Act 3, that game became unplayable. I had to actually pause it. They have fixed it now. Yeah, it was unplayable. Like it crashed every 4 to 5 minutes. Okay.
Kinda quick, I guess.
Act 1 was like absolutely flawless. Then you started to notice bugs in Act 2, and once you got to Act 3, unplayable. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I absolutely enjoyed that game, but boy, did we have issues. Yeah.
It was unplayable on PC completely.
Yeah, it was like a mess. And even Diablo, I thought like for a games as a service online game, it was relatively polished, but you had like a lot of server issues at the very beginning, you know, and the extreme long queue times, and something at the back end was just like,
what's up with all the VRAM issues in these games too?
Yeah,
it's insane. If you're a PC gamer, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah. It is. I actually double dipped in Diablo 4. I bought it on PC and console, you know, to be also able to go back and forth. And the VRAM issue, like, it's crazy. The rubber banding you get online and everything. It's like, this entire year, almost every major game, Resident Evil 4 came out pretty polished. I can't remember.
But too much complaining about that.
Yeah. But I think that's about it.
Other than the rain, but that was before the game came out.
Yeah, true. True.
There was some complaining about the rain and like some of the roundhouse kicks and how it kicked like 12 people at a time.
Yeah.
I actually love that though. When I played the demo, I did the roundhouse kick. I kicked like 20 of them folks. I was like, that's I like it.
In the village, I remember. So. Yeah, and I just feel like, you know, games are expensive, man. They are $80 now. Yeah, here in Germany we pay 80 euros now for a game, and I feel like if I at the end I'm still a customer. You know, I'm not just a fan that just buys everything. Well, I do buy many games, but you know what I mean. I pay a lot of money for it, and I don't think we deserve to get like on a regular basis unfinished products. And so yeah, it's definitely something that annoys me in gaming. Other than that, I love the hobby, man. What was your second question? You had two questions.
Everybody always forgets the second question after they get done with the first part because it ends up getting pretty serious. But the second half of it was the good half. What would be a
Oh, the
dream
good.
come true for Boxenberger? Now, I want you to be a little selfish. What would be a dream come true for you in gaming as a whole?
Okay. So it's a two-part question. Good in gaming. Listen, there are obviously the games and everything. It's just a great hobby. But the one thing that I truly appreciate about gaming, for me, gaming is not just the act of actually playing the game. Gaming is for me having a great community, and I feel like I have friends in real life, yes, but I also have like this community on Twitter, on Xbox Live, on the PlayStation Network. Just really great people with whom I can share my passion. And I feel like that's the best part of gaming, being able to do that. I mean, look at us two. Yeah. You're sitting here all across the globe, and we're sitting here this entire evening for 2.5 hours now. Yeah. And just talking about video games, having great
Right.
people in the chat and everything. It's also part of gaming. Yeah. And this community aspect. Video games isn't a hobby that is just where you sit like in your basement and yeah, it's about engaging with people, getting to know people from all around the globe. I love that about gaming, man. But what would be
Absolutely.
the
That's
one?
fantastic.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
what would be the one thing that makes my dream come true? That's a tough one. Listen, um, I am pretty much happy with what we have today in gaming. Like I have all the consoles, I have like great gaming PC, I can go back and forth, and I can take my games now with great handhelds like the Ally with me on the go. So I have all that. But we talked about it earlier that we are console gamers first. And I mentioned it briefly that I love the idea of mid-gen upgrades, mid-gen refresh consoles. But I don't want another Xbox that is $500. I want them to really bring out like a premium console. Let us pay $1,000 for it, but have like really beefy hardware specs, like the equivalent of a 4080 in there or something like that. You know what I mean? Like this. I play so much. I would invest in a €1,000 console. I would buy that thing and get like really, really great specs and performance out of it. I think that would be a dream.
Boxenberger said he wants to be a white gold platinum diamond member of the Xbox or whatever console community y'all got, as long as y'all is raising them specs to the top and trying to compete and making sure that you can take care of these people. You can give them Series S's and Series X's and whatnot, but I want my Series triple X Y Z. Like
exactly, man.
Exactly. It'd be great. It'd be great. Yeah, I hear that. I feel that. Shout out to Drawn TJ as well, saying bring back Mech Assault and Midnight Club, two phenomenal games. Midnight Club is easily one of my favorite games of all time. But
that's a good one, man. Yeah.
It really is. But Boxenberger, brother, I've had you here for 2+ hours now, and I want to make sure that you get some good rest because I know you got work and stuff in the morning, and it is late in the evening for you. So what I'm gonna ask you to do first is go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and whatnot. So just in case they don't know already, then they do. So go on ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and whatnot.
Yeah. Of course. You can find me everywhere under Boxenberger, like on Twitter, on YouTube, but also the gamer tags on PlayStation and Xbox are Boxenberger. We have a Boxenberger Discord channel, so it's very easy to find. Yeah, you can find me everywhere, and yeah, we do the do a weekly podcast called The World of Gaming every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time, or 8 p.m. Central Europe. Yeah, exactly. And we usually have a great time over there, great community, and we talk also, or try to cover some of the topics in the podcast that not all the podcasts talk about. Some of the smaller or more forgotten news topics, we try to cover those as well in the podcast. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely feel free and step by and check it out. But man, Ham, I'm super honored that you got sent the invite out and had me on here today. I had a blast with you. The 2+ hours flew by like nothing, so that's always a good sign. So thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a blast, man, having you here. Just like you said, it just time flew by. And we got a lot. We had a lot of things to discuss, and it didn't feel like I was reaching in the bag trying to figure out what question to ask you. It just kind of just kept going, kept going, and kept going. So
yeah,
phenomenal conversation, brother. Thank you so much. I'd love to have you back for another show on Friday at some point down the line.
Absolutely.
Doesn't have to be anytime soon, but I'd love to have you back on when you have that available time. We usually do our show about this time, this specific time, on Fridays.
We can do that.
So
we can do that.
So I'll holler at you. We'll hook something
Absolutely.
up in the DMs and talk about it in the near future. But as for right now, I want to thank you so much for being here. As you guys know, and as you guys seen, all the content and channels that he's on as well. He's on the Wandering Dutch's channel sometimes as well for midweek mix up and stuff like that. Go and check him out over there. Share, subscribe, do the damn thing. Support Boxenberger. He's a good dude out here as well. But the last thing I'm gonna have you do before you get up out of here, and this is real quick and real simple and easy. I want you, or maybe it ain't easy, to describe gaming in just 3 words.
I could do it in 4. Best hobby in the world, you know. I love gaming. It's yeah.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. Can't add anything to that. Yeah.
Yeah. You just ran right into that door. I mean, that was good. Very, very, very good. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and checking out this episode of Behind Them Six. Joy Ham Solo 05 Gaming and Mr. Boxenberger here on the TSWS Gaming YouTube channel. You can check us out here every Thursday for the most part. I did this one on Wednesday. I happened to have a free day up, and then tomorrow I'm busy, so this actually worked out perfect for me. But as for the future, I do this show usually on Thursdays. Usually Wednesday I'm on a different channel, but my guy is working on moving to a new place, so congrats to him on his new place that he's getting. I know he's really excited about it, and I know he's not excited to hook up all of his gear all over. But anyways, with that being said, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Be healthy, and I hope to see you guys this coming Friday for our next episode of Bull Sitting with me, Loke, Cozy Beluga, Matt Likes Games, and hopefully a guest. We'll see you guys soon, and thank you so much. Take it easy, and as you hear me say every single time, it's your boy Ham Solo on TSWS Game, letting you know to keep it gaming or keep it moving. Peace out.
See ya, guys.